All right. Hello, hello. Welcome back to a Purpose and Pixie Dust podcast recording. My name is Lindsey Dollinger. I am the host, and I am super excited for our guest today, Katie Carson. So, Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be such a great talk. When I was reading through all the things that you could bring to our audience, I was like, this is exactly what everyone needs to hear right now. So, tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, and how you came to do what you're doing.
Yeah, so my name is Katie. I live in East Tennessee. Moved up here during the pandemic, but my background ranges from everything from the CIA to learning and development at a big three consulting firm. But I like to say that I came back to my first love, which is marketing. It's what I studied in school. And I did corporate marketing for a few years. And now I bring that all together to help female entrepreneurs, especially build a marketing strategy that feels good to them, that feels authentic to them. It's not a one size fits all. I like to say I like take the anti cookie cutter approach and really get to know my clients and who they are to help them build a strategy that feels good.
I love that. Okay, so how did you give us a little bit more background? How did you actually decide, like, okay, I'm going to start my own business? Like, this is the time.
So I come from a long line of entrepreneurs. My grandparents, my mom, my aunts, like everybody on my mom's side of the family is an entrepreneur. So I always knew I
Oh, cool.
wanted to run my own business at some point, but I have ADHD and I never settled on one thing for long.
Yep. I
If we're
feel
honest,
that. Yeah.
I would get bored very quickly and move on. But what happened is I was in a job that really was not aligned with my values.
Mm,
And my role was evolving to the point where I just knew a little too much. And so I opted to leave that organization and start building my own business last October. So my 1 year anniversary is coming up and it's great. So I started doing events and things like that, but I really ended up coming back, like I said, to my first love of marketing and building that up. And over the course of the last year, I have really honed that down into helping entrepreneurs learn marketing, especially if they don't have a background in building a business or marketing itself,
yeah.
um, and making it feel attainable and authentic for them.
I love that. Yeah. So the word authentic, I feel like everyone kind of has a little bit different twist with that, especially
Mhm.
when it has to do with business. So to you, what does authentic mean when building a business?
To me, it means living according to your values, right? And your priorities. Not everybody is after a 10K month. Would be great, right? But, based on what your priorities and your lifestyle are. Like for me, I would love to have, 7-figure years, but it's more important to me that I have the time to enjoy my life and do things like hiking with Archie and spending time outdoors and time with my family. It's finding that balance and creating a marketing strategy that allows me to do that in a way that feels good. Because I think that a lot of people, especially women, um, can feel real icky about marketing or feeling like they're trying to push sales, right? Like convincing people to buy whatever it is, whether it's a product that they're selling on their Etsy or a service that they're providing. It can it can feel icky. And I think a lot of women too, I think there's a lot of people out there who have bought into courses that have promised them a one size fits all solution that will get them their 10K months, and they just don't get that. So it's really about, taking what is unique about you, your core values, and what's unique about what you bring to the space, whatever that niche is, and honing in on that and building trust and real connections with the people in your audience. Not just like cold DMing, to kind of generate leads or whatever that is. None of us really like that. So that's kind of where my level of, when I say authentic marketing, that's what I mean.
And I love how you keep saying anti cookie cutter because that's so true. There are so many, I'm thinking specifically of courses, but also coaches who teach like the same sort of thing, and it's like this is the one way to do it, and it's like this way or the highway. And as a coach myself, I'm like, that is so not true, especially when you're diving into people's businesses. Like what works for one person isn't necessarily going to be what works for the other person. And what works for you now, it might not be the exact same thing, or it could be, you could be doing the exact same thing, but it's not going to work because it worked for me 3 years ago.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to meet people like where they are at that time in their life, and also recognizing that people go through seasons. I talk to my clients a lot about my biggest thing, if anybody takes anything away from this in regards to marketing, it's sustainable consistency. So setting yourself up for success by setting a baseline that you know you can achieve in the long run, right? Like not overdoing it, overextending it, trying to be everywhere all the time, all at once, but finding a way to be sustainably consistent, so that you can hit your goals, but also knowing that you get to decide what that looks like for you. So if something changes in your life, if a season shifts, you get to say, okay, you know what? I have more capacity. I can show up more. Or, oh, you know what? I don't. Let me look at what content I do have and see how I can repurpose that so that it's not as big of it doesn't feel as much of a hurdle to show up for my business, and market and sell.
Yeah. So are the majority of your clients like brand new in business, or do they kind of have a little bit of idea what they're doing and they're just like looking for next steps?
They span the whole range,
whole
which I
range.
really love. It really feeds into my ADHD, right? Like my need to have things be different. I have one client that's an actual startup that I work with, a startup company in learning and development. But most of my clients are either within the first 2 years of their business or in like the 3 to 5 year range. So they are ready for somebody to help them scale their business and identify ways to, make the marketing a little bit more like easier, using content repurposing, reach a new audience, figure out where that audience is, or they're just starting out and they just need somebody to kind of help them learn, right? You get all these words thrown around like funnels or leads or conversions, and like just demystifying that for those who are just starting out, because it can be really overwhelming.
Yeah. Been there, done that. So when you are working with someone for the first time, say someone comes to you and they hear this and they're like, okay, I'd like to work with you. What are kind of your first steps to figuring out like what that baseline can be, especially if maybe they're new and they're not really sure what they can handle or be consistent with yet? What are some suggestions do you have for that new entrepreneur listening right now?
Yeah, so there's a lot. So the first thing is actually taking the time to do market research is really important, and it doesn't have to be big or scary. It can be as easy as a poll on your Instagram story, right? Like all of that is data to help you figure out where to focus your efforts. So that's my first thing. And then once you figure that out, I always tell my clients starting out, put 90% of your energy into that channel, that platform. So if you find out that, there's actually more people for you on Pinterest versus Instagram, right? Focus 90% of your effort on Pinterest. You can then use the content that you're building there, just tweak the format a little bit and post it on Instagram to maintain a proof of life, right? But like really hone in 90% of your efforts on the platform where most of your clients are. And then the other thing is people connect with people and people buy with people. So share your story. You don't have to share your whole personal life, right? Or post your kids if you're not comfortable with that. But like share your story of like why you started your business, what motivates you. Even sharing some things like if there was like a hiccup in an order or whatever that is, people want to see that content resonates and they feel like they can connect with you as a whole person and then trust you with that order or with that service that you're providing. It builds that like no trust factor that we hear about before you even start a conversation. And then you actually have real conversations. Those are my 3 things. Like, it's just
Yep.
those are the things, and to figure out the frequency, it's really about looking at your schedule,
Mhm.
your, you know, especially for those, because I know a lot of people who are listening to this are building their business in addition to their 9 to 5, right? Like, look at your 9 to 5 schedule. I used to do conferences and trade shows in my 9 to 5, and so it would be really important for me to know when those were coming up, to know, okay, I should probably schedule some things in advance for that, or know that my baseline is going to be a little lower during conference
Yep.
season. Like,
100%.
it's all about just kind of, it's like managing your life, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
work-life
Being
balance
aware.
still. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Being
all
aware of what's going
self-awareness.
on. Yep.
It's
Yep.
self-awareness and knowing how your energy flows. I have recently gotten into human design.
Ooh, me too. Oh my gosh. What
Oh,
are you?
I'm a
What's your
projector.
I am too. Oh my gosh, I never meet projectors.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
girl, I will connect you with so many projectors. I have so
Okay,
many
let's go.
projector entrepreneur friends. It's so funny. But, like,
Interesting. Okay.
with projectors, our energy tends to ebb and flow. I mean,
Yeah.
especially as women, our energies are cyclical anyways, but, like, with
Right.
projectors, it's really evident. So figuring
Mhm.
out ways to work with that
Yep.
instead of feeling like you need to hustle and push through, like
Yep.
honoring yourself and how you feel like you best operate, instead of being like, well, I need to show up every single day on Instagram or nobody's going to see my stuff. That's not true. If
Right.
you're
Right.
consistent, even if you're just consistent twice a week, whether it's a reel or a post, eventually, like, it's a long game, but it
Hmm.
will pay off in the long
Yeah.
run.
100%. I love that so much. Yeah. When did I find out I was a projector? Like probably about 2 years ago was when I
Okay.
heard of human design for the first time. And when she was saying this about like needing periods of rest and stuff, I don't need that. Like, I was like, I go all the time. Like, and to this day, I'm not sure who is watching this live as we're recording live, but anyone who knows me knows I'm like that. And I have had to very intentionally like take the pedal off, allow myself rest, have some hard boundaries on
Yeah.
my time. Like even podcast interviews, I won't do more than one in a day now just because I love them so much, but like I put so much energy into them that when I get off, I'm like, okay, I don't want to talk to anyone for like a half an
Yeah.
hour.
And even
Like, leave me alone.
extrovert, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm a full-blown extrovert. Like,
Hmm.
I will be the first person I can talk to a wall for
Yeah.
days.
Yep.
But it's the same thing whenever I schedule an interview or I'm getting ready to launch a podcast later this year, like, it's one at a time,
Yeah.
because when I schedule buffers after every call,
Yep.
I have at least a 15 to 30-minute break
Yeah.
where I can just not look at my computer or take
Go for
Archie
a
out
walk.
or, like, go for a
Hmm.
walk. Exactly, just some things to, like, reset my energy and just be aware of, like, the energy that I'm expending,
Yep. Yeah.
which I
I
used to not
100.
do.
Yeah. I love that. It's almost like the needing to recover from, yes, perfectionism, but what's the word? Like the hustle,
Oh,
like
the
the hustle
hustle
and the
culture.
grind.
The
Yeah.
top,
Yeah.
like, and especially, for those people who are in their 9 to 5, like, I came from a very male-dominated, all of the
Mhm.
industries that I worked in were male-dominated, from the
Yeah.
federal government to consulting to performance marketing, which was my last role, and we try to force ourselves to show up that way
Yeah.
because it's what we feel like we have to do as
Mhm.
women in those spaces, instead of trusting our energy and our intuition to really kind of help us navigate that. And we do ourselves a huge disservice by doing that. Like,
We do. And it's just our society. It's
it
the way the
is.
society is set up.
It
And
is.
so I am a high school teacher during the day still. And my whole career, like these kids, because you're on
Yeah,
from
all day.
7:15 to 2, like there is no downtime. And I remember when my mom passed away in 2015 and she was very sick before that. So I would come to school and I had been up all night at the hospital with her. And some nights I would drive from the hospital at like 4 a.m. to my apartment, shower, and go to work all day. And
Mhm.
I think that's the part where I really was like, I have to have a break in the day. So like I would start strategically like planning my lesson plans where like there could be 5 minutes where the kids
Yeah.
were working on something and I could just like sort papers or decompress in some way without, and I would just tell kids like, please no questions for 5 minutes. Like basically like please just don't talk. Cause I'm like, I can't be on all the time. And so I was like, what is wrong with me? Cause I see all these other teachers and they're like bundles of energy and love. And I'm like, I want to feel that way, but like, I am so overwhelmed with 2,000 questions and I teach Spanish. So, and they're in another language. So I'm like, you know what I mean? So
I almost was a
like,
Spanish teacher. Fun fact.
are you serious? Oh my
I
God.
was
Yes, we have so much in common.
I know, this is great.
I actually picked up a brochure about being a Spanish teacher with the CIA, so that's funny.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We'll definitely have to chat more when we get off.
We definitely will.
I have decided that is no longer my path, but I was very intrigued for a while. I was like, what? I'm like, this is a thing?
I mean, if you're going to do it, language teacher is probably the way to go.
Yeah,
but
right. But I looked at that. I'm like, you make 150 grand teaching some CIA agents Spanish?
Yeah,
like,
but you got to live in a very expensive. I lived in DC for 6 years and it was wild.
I know. I had a best friend from college who did too, and her apartment was like $3 grand a month, and my apartment in Columbus at the time was like $650.
Yeah.
Like huge difference. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, sorry, I got sidetracked on this on my spew of the anti-hustle, but yeah, for anyone listening, I just want you to reiterate, like, there's nothing wrong with you if you need some you time, some downtime, and it's all about those seasons too that you said, because I have really started preaching that the past couple years. One, since I found out I was a projector, but two, while building my business and working full time. And last year I trained for a marathon. I didn't really quite know what I was getting myself in for, but just like the time. And so once I started getting into it, I was like, okay, this quarter, like Q4, I'm not launching. I'm maintaining my business. Like my goal is to maintain, to get some connections going. So like my whole strategy had to shift because of that season I was in. And so I think I love that you also do that with your clients, because I think, especially like you said, as women, when we're trying to do all the things, like it can be hard to know that it's okay to take your foot off the gas pedal a little bit, as long as it's like still slightly on there. Like you're still going a little bit.
And the thing is too, like my therapist tells me regularly, growth isn't like healing and growth are not linear, right? Like it's messy, it's chaotic, it's going to be up and down and all around. But as long as when you step back and you look at the bigger picture, you're seeing progress long term, that's what matters. So
yeah.
And I think we get caught in the comparison trap of social media too, right? Like we get caught in that comparison trap, but we also get in the mindset of it's only social. We only need to be on social. But there's so many other ways to grow your business, to scale your business that aren't social. There's, the emails, lead magnets, if you create like a little freebie download or quiz or, collaboration, I think too often gets overlooked when building out a strategy.
Yep. Like, and it can be so huge for your business.
Oh, so huge. And it's so funny because it's one of those like do as I say, not as I do. Like I was so in the weeds in my business that I couldn't even build out my own marketing strategy, right? Like I was just too in it, just trying to like keep things going. But I hired somebody to help me with my marketing strategy. And she and I had a call and she was like, what's really funny is like technically we should be competitors. Technically. But
you need help. Like
but you need help. And like I help her and it's great. And instead of being competitors, we collaborate. I've sent people to her, like she's sent people to me. Like it's just so nice when we stop focusing on the competitive nature that the like social media kind of puts us in and really focus on collaboration.
And the thing I love so much about that story is, like, I don't know about you, I'm sure you're probably the same way. I don't want to work with everyone. Like there are definitely people that I've connected with that have reached out to me for my services. And I'm like, I don't think we're the right fit, but you might try XYZ person. You know what I mean? And same thing, like I've hired a variety of different people in the past to help me with social media or VA work or whatever. I'll refer different ones to different people depending on, what their needs are, where I think they'll fit in. And like, I would never have known that had I not either worked with them or collaborated with them, like Yeah, there's plenty to go around
Oh.
for everyone. And I love that you said that too, because there's a lot of people who have a very scarcity mindset around that. And I'm like I said, I don't want to work with everyone. Everyone is not my cup of tea, and I'm
No.
not everyone's cup of tea, likewise, right?
No, definitely. Well, and like it also that goes with seasons too, depending on what your business is or your services or your product are. People might be the right fit for you in that season, but as your business grows and changes or their business changes, you may outgrow it, and that's okay.
Yep.
But I think as long as you maintain the collaboration aspect, it helps you to also build a community that understands what you're doing. So
Yeah.
you don't feel as alone. It can be really easy, especially when you're working a 9 to 5 and running a business. It's important to build a network like your podcast does, where people are in a similar boat and can support one another and talk things out and even brainstorm, right? Like,
Well, yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I try to encourage, because I have a free group as well for my podcast. It's not called the same name anymore. I switched it. I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but my most magical me movement. And my goal with that group is that people hop in there and they're like, hey, I want to brainstorm this, or I'd like an idea about this, or does anyone want to collaborate? And I don't see it as much as I would love, but I'm like, guys, like, this is a free group. Like, use this group, network with people in this group. Everyone in this group either has a business or wants a business. They're my kind of people, so they're probably your kind of people. You know what I mean? I'm like, use this. But I think so many people get in their head about what collaboration could look like. So do you want to share
mhm.
some ways either that you've collaborated or maybe that you've encouraged your clients, like some types of what it could look like for them?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's as simple as like hopping on a quick coffee chat, right? And having a conversation with somebody. You never know how collaboration will unfold. It can be as simple, guesting on somebody's podcast or, um, hosting a live together, right? Like on Instagram, you go live together and talk about something. I find networking groups to be really great opportunities to meet people that I vibe with and let the collaboration opportunities unfold from there. I have um, someone I met in a networking group that became a client, and now I'm her client too. So we're actually kind of feeding each other's, referral network. Like we're collaborating together because a lot of her work is around um your personal seasons based on like your astrology. And since my marketing's advice is also very seasonal, we're going to be working together to kind of um come up with some sort of joint, we're not sure yet, but like around the seasonality of your personal seasons and your marketing. So it's really, the opportunities are endless. It doesn't have to be as formal as an interview, right? Especially if you're not a talker. I have a client who she would rather write a guest blog post or a guest post for somebody or a guest email. There's email swaps you can do. Like there's all sorts of ways to collaborate in a way that feels good and authentic to who you are. But it's more about finding the people you connect with first
Yeah.
and building that relationship for the collaboration to unfold.
Yeah. Now, ideally on a collaboration, will you pitch
Mhm.
yourself? Will you pitch a freebie? What's kind of like the rules around pitching? Like if
Um,
you're on a
it really
live or email or blog, etc.
It really depends. A lot of people will kind of lay out that groundwork before you get on there,
First.
right?
Okay.
Or they'll have like a Google form for you to fill out and then they'll reach out to you, which I personally love because it also helps me feel in addition to like listening to whatever it is, it also helps me feel out if it's going to be a good fit for me.
Yeah.
Um, but most of them will allow you to like like just being able to talk about your business and who you
Yeah.
are is so undervalued, I think. Like I probably will be giving you a freebie after this to share with your audience, but like even without that, just being able to come on here and help add value to the lives of entrepreneurs is a really good step forward for your brand, like
Yeah.
no matter what it is. So my big thing is focus on the value that you bring to the table when you're pitching. So whether it's marketing or a specific like product niche, like really focus on your knowledge, your value, your experience. And, you know, you've got to battle the imposter syndrome
Yep,
still,
that's
right?
huge.
Like,
Yeah.
it's huge. I
Yep.
went to school for marketing and I still question whether or not I should talk about it. But, you know, it is something that we have
Yeah.
to actively try to overcome. And so when it comes to pitching yourself, I like to, as a projector, I forget what they call it, but it's to wait. My strategy is to wait for the invitation. So
Mhm.
I just kind of like lurk in these like be a guest, need a guest podcast groups
Yes. Yes. I love groups. Mhm.
or in networking groups. I'm a part of a women's networking group called Next Generation Network that has just been wonderful for collaboration. Like,
Hmm.
whether it's been like webinars with people for people or opportunities to partner together. So I kind of wait for an invitation to see if it's something that would be a fit for me. But for pitching, especially for written opportunities, it's important to have an idea of what it is that you're pitching, be able to articulate it, and be able to articulate it in a concise way what the value is that you will be giving. And you know, usually there's a little author blurb of like, Katie is the owner and CEO of KJC Consulting LLC and the host of X podcast, right? Like, and you can put some little things in there that will drive people to your pages without it feeling overtly like, come book a
Well,
service with
yeah.
me.
Well, and I know, like, when I'm listening to podcasts, for example, I almost always will scroll down, and 9 times out of 10, the host has linked like their Instagram,
Mm-hmm,
and I'll just immediately follow. And then
mm-hmm.
that way I can still stay connected, hopefully see their stuff in my feed, stories, etc. But it's just like that quick, like that first touch into getting to know people. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
just even for the visibility, I feel like it's brilliant to get yourself out there, collab. And it's never going to hurt you, like ever,
Right,
unless you are
exactly.
collabing with someone who's just really icky.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Which is
doesn't stand for what you stand for. Yes.
exactly, which is why again the self-awareness is so key into like who you are and like what you bring to the table and like what it is that you're hoping to accomplish, right? Like even with marketing with posts, like what is the goal of this piece of content? What is the goal of this collaboration? And most of the time with collaboration, it's just bringing people into your sphere of influence, right? Like it's just like, hey, they'd never heard your name before and now they have. And now they follow you on Instagram from the show notes, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then from there, you know, there's a lot of statistics and I'm probably not remembering all of these exactly, but it takes like 7 times for somebody to see your content before they engage with it. All right. That's just engagement. Like they got to see your name or see something related to you 7 times. And then it's going to take them, I think it's on average 21 times before they really take an action, whether it's joining an email list or booking a call with you or buying your product. That's a lot of times,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if you can organically increase your sphere of influence, increase your reach, you're
Yep.
more likely to start getting those touch points in front of your ideal customer to help them along their journey to buy from you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay. I feel like we could talk for hours.
I know.
But before I tell everyone where to connect with you, work with you, all the things, I have a few questions I ask my guests.
Okay.
No particular order. Do you have a morning routine, a night routine, neither or both?
1.5.
Okay. Okay.
I have a solid nighttime routine. That is the one
Okay.
thing that came out of the panorama for me was, you know, identifying that I am a nighttime shower to like wash the day away with like
Mm-hmm.
lavender body wash, just really getting myself
Yep.
down and washing my face. And then I get into bed and I read. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not on social, I'm not doing any of that, but I read for like hours. I'm up to like 75 books this year.
Oh my gosh, this year? Girl, get
This
it.
year.
That's awesome.
But then my morning routine is a little bit more flexible depending on what I have going on. I am not a morning person. I'm like a daytime person. I'm not morning or
Yes,
night.
same. Oh my gosh,
But
same.
like I find my nighttime routine to be a little bit more important to me because it's what sets up my night's sleep.
Mhm.
And if I don't sleep, then I'm useless.
Yep.
But my morning routine is usually take Archie out, feed him, make the bed, and then I do what I call a magical morning.
Okay. All right. Do tell.
And so I'm an external processor. If you can't tell, I love to talk things out. So like written gratitude practices have never really worked for me. And I was working with this human design coach earlier this year who introduced me to this practice. And it's you either set a timer, like open a voice note on your phone or like whatever. And for 2 minutes, you just talk about what you're grateful for that morning. And you just talk it out. And it's really nice. It's really interesting to see where it flows when I'm not worried about like writing down a neat little list of like 5 things. And then after that, you talk about how your day is going to go as if it has already happened. And like think about how you are going to feel throughout your day. And then you do that for the long term. You talk about like some of your long term dreams and goals and how it will feel to like embody that, because I get so caught up, I don't know about you, but I get so caught up in like, these are my goals and this is how I get there, that I don't ever think about like how it will feel if I hit them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it has made a huge difference for me.
Yep. That visualization.
Mm-hmm.
That's some NLP practice right there. I love it. Yeah.
I'm here,
Neuro-linguistic programming. Yeah. That's, I've worked with some coaches who have encouraged similar things. And it's so interesting. I was just telling one of my clients, because she was having a hard time writing gratitude. And I was like, I don't write gratitude. I say it. I don't either say it. Sometimes it's not even out loud, but I will like think it. I will lay in bed and think it before I get out of bed in the morning. Like that's
I love that.
that's my practice. And I used to be a journaler when I was little, but I have to really force myself to journal. And I don't, that's just like me. And I will from time to time, but I really like the visualization practice as well.
Yeah, I have to have a very specific prompt if I'm going to journal. But it's also that self-awareness piece I tell my clients too. I was like, if you hate writing, don't try to write content. Use talk to text. Like there's so much technology to help you do it.
Yeah. Use some different tools. Find some different tools. Ask around for sure. Okay, so since you love to read, I'm very curious your answer to this one. What is your favorite or most recommended personal development or business book?
Ooh, okay. So I'm going to be honest with you. 73 of those 75 books were fiction.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine. I love fiction.
But for me, my favorite personal development book, I have two. They're by the same author, and it's Buy Yourself the Fucking Lilies and Glow in the Fucking Dark by Tara Schuster. She is an ex-Comedy Central executive. So like she's written on shows like Key and Peele and whatnot, but it's a lot of her journey around self-care, professional development, showing up for herself, and then her journey with like reparenting herself. And it was so eye-opening, but also hysterical because she's a comedy writer. So
interesting. Now I'm intrigued.
It was really cool because for the launch of her second book, she actually hosted a community and we would all get together on a webinar with her. And she would like lead us through like journaling or meditation practices that had helped her along her way. And we would all just share, and it was really lovely. So I just love the fact that she took the time to build an authentic community around something so personal to her.
Oh, that's so cool. We'll be sure to link those in the show notes, guys, so you can check those out. And then last one is just a fun one, just because I'm nosy. What is a place on your bucket list and or your favorite destination you've ever been to?
Okay, so my bucket list number one is Scotland, because during the pandemic for Christmas, one of my best friends bought me a small plot of land. So I am technically a lady. And
yes, I thought you were gonna say you started watching Outlander, and I was like,
I mean, I've watched and read all of those, but but no, I want to go visit my little 1 foot by 1 foot plot of land in the Highlands.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome! What a cool gift,
right? I was like,
fun.
This is because she knew like she bought it for I think me and one other person, and we were both into super British television, books, the whole 9 yards, and it was just the coolest present that I never would have thought of, and it has been my favorite fun fact for now 3 years.
I love that. Now I need to look that up and like how to do that, how to buy some Scottish land. Okay. All right. We'll make Scotland happen. We got to put Scotland on that vision board and get you there ASAP,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Okay, Katie, I have loved our convo so much. So where can everyone connect, find you? How can they work with you? And everyone, I will make sure to drop this in the show notes for you.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram, Lady Katie Carson, all one word, no
Perfect.
punctuation. And then my website is kjcarson.com. And from there, you can find all the ways to work with me, but you can also book a free consultation. I'm not here to gatekeep. So anybody that wants to can pick my brain for 30 minutes, just no pressure, no muss, no fuss. And then I also have a free guide on there on how to repurpose your content so that you can get your juices flowing on how you can set yourself up for success in the long run without burning out.
I love that. Love that. Love that. Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, Katie. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Lindsey.